Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining our webinar and spending a part of your Friday with us. My name is Susie Ratsavong, and I'm the Communications Director for Mindstream Analytics. Today's webinar is the final reporting mile for your EPM investments. Before we start, just a few housekeeping items. To confirm that you can all hear me, please click on the Raise Your Hand button now. Great. On the right side of your screen, you will see a Questions tab. At any time during the webinar, please enter any questions that you might have in that box. We'll address all questions at the end of the webinar in the order the questions are received. Finally, for your information, this webinar will be recorded and made available to you afterward. In addition, I'd like to, of course, give you a quick overview about us. Mindstream Analytics, headquartered in Boston, is a leading consulting and managed services provider focused on helping companies solve complex data challenges, improve business analytics, and optimize business performance. Our experienced consultants and professionals are here to help you align your business and technology needs with ease. Today, we collaborated with our technology partner, CXO Cockpit. CXO Cockpit offers a suite of web-based and mobile EPM reporting tools, including interactive dashboards with real-time finance data available anywhere, anytime. Together with our EPM and business intelligence experts, Mindstream and CXO Cockpit help integrate the technologies that fuel your finance team. With that, I'm going to turn the presentation over to Wouter Born, Chief Technology Officer and co-founder at CXO Cockpit. Wouter?
Thank you, Susie. So just a bit about our organization. We were founded in 2007. Actually by a group of people that were really active in the EPM consulting space. We did many Hyperion implementations and other EPM solutions. And we have really a finance background. So the team, our global team, started developing software that was really meant specifically for EPM systems. And that's a very specific focus we have. So our goal and our mission is to kind of see if we can give the CFO office the ultimate tool to have a maximum impact and really kind of smoothen your reporting and move from your probably current Excel-based reporting packs to a complete digital process. So just to start with, to put a little bit in context, we have quite some customers around the globe. A number in the USA, probably about half of our customer base is currently in the USA, and the other half is in Europe and other areas. What these companies all have in common is that they were looking at corporate level, so it's always kind of the CFO office was looking to replace the current Excel reporting pack. So a manual, error-prone, labor-intensive process to replace that with an online, web-based, and in most cases mobile accessible reporting and dashboarding system. I think what they were all looking for is kind of not a pure reporting solution like Excel, neither a pure BI solution like other tools in the market, but more kind of a combination where they can do reporting and analytics at the same time at a central place. Well, maybe a couple of customer names to highlight. We're working with a very big retailer in the Netherlands, which is Ahold. In the US, we have some really nice customer names as well, like Tyco, Kaiser Aluminum, Kone, Cash America, Pitney Bowes, etc. There are a lot of companies, and they're mostly all Hyperion users. Hyperion Essbase or Hyperion Financial Management are our main sources we see here. Besides that, we also have connectors to other systems like SAP, Tagetik, and other EPM systems. IBM is also one of the options. So what are the typical reporting challenges we see at our customers? Well, typically when we get into a customer, we see a very decentralized, labor-intensive reporting process, and there are typical issues with that. We met this week one of our customers where we talked to the CFO, and he said, on a monthly basis, I get hundreds and hundreds of reports, and requests for reports. And he said, there's no way to manage it. I really need SQL Corporate to be a global single version of the truth tool that can handle this. So we kind of eliminate all this huge amount of information requests. Well, another typical challenge we see as soon as you start working with Excel is that it can be error prone. Like formulas in Excel, it's hard to trace them. It's hard to say, okay, what is the current version of a report, or are we looking at the same thing? That's a typical challenge we see. And probably the last challenge we see a lot is paper-based reporting. So big stacks of paper are distributed to the whole executive management team or to all managers. Besides it's a waste of all this paper, it's also something that's very hard to analyze, and it will be hard to, let's say, go 1 month back or do a little drill down on paper. So these are the typical challenges we try to solve with SQL Corporate with a web-based and mobile solution. So nowadays technology will allow you to actually have hundreds of pages in your, let's say, paper-based reporting pack, to have that just in one online dashboard. Because we can use simple things like drill downs or select a specific row and then see the trend of that row. You can just have it all in one place if you do it in an efficient way. Just to share a couple of really nice customer quotes, like we have here a quote of PSE World, and they said, well, we went back from 400 pages to 20 pages, but just making a couple of smart selections. And when he talks about pages, he means like an online report. He can just select with the right parameters and can directly have the information he needs. A couple of other things we would like to share. What's the true customer value we see at customers? Well, we have companies that really say, okay, we want to standardize our complete executive reporting out of SQL Corporate. And there is a corporate controller, or it was actually director of P&A of a multinational food company, saying if it's not from SQL Corporate, then it's not true. We will not discuss anything coming up from SQL Corporate. And eventually, this could be kind of an end goal. It might not start with this directly, but we can definitely help you to get there. Other typical business cases is about time saving, about getting more insight, a better understanding, and more people involved in the reporting process. So to start off, I will basically show you a demo of the product and try to get you through a story. But kind of to start of that story, I want to start with a very typical example what we see at our customers. When we get in, we see reports like this. It is printed on paper, people write on it, which is probably good. You know, you can make annotations. And it's also something we kind of support with our mobile apps. But there are a couple of disadvantages of this. You could leave this in the train, so it's not very secure. If you leave your numbers somewhere, it's hard to trace who has a copy. It's probably, and when I get to my next slide, answer questions like this: what are your best-selling products? How is your gross margin trend developing? Or let's say, my cost of goods sold, how are they? Are they kind of budgeted? Are they doing better or worse? A report like this would take you quite some time to answer these questions instantly. So with this in our mind, I'd actually like to take you through a story in SQL Corporate and kind of show you how we could improve a process like this. So SQL Corporate is a full web-based environment and has a mobile client for both iPad and Android devices. Today I will show it from a web browser. So I'm just going to log on. And the first thing what it will take me to is my personal customized homepage. This could be any kind of page you would like to have. You could even make them personal to your CFO or to specific executives to really meet their specific needs. But it just helps me to explain you a little bit the basic concepts of what we see in SQL Corporate. First of all, SQL Corporate comes with a menu. So reports can be selected from a menu with a little image. You can select directly the report you want, or that report that draws your attention maybe because of a lot of red elements in there. Another thing is that SQL is really good in showing formatted data grids. So you can format the grid exactly the way you want or the way you used to in Excel, but it comes with benefits. So in SQL, for example, I could click now on net sales, and the grid might be formatted as in Excel, but the functionality is much more flexible, because by clicking on net sales, I can then automatically analyze my different business lines. And I can also say, well, I'm comparing this now to my forecast. So I'm showing an actual forecast variance, but I would prefer to do this compared to budget. So I can already make a couple of choices. I even have a couple of drill down options, but the homepage is actually meant as a teaser to invite people to view more. If you like, you can add links so that people can directly go to a working capital report straight from the homepage. Another thing we offer, and that's actually what I'm going to use for my storyline today, is what we call storyboards. And storyboards is actually a couple of snapshots of reports put in a certain order. It allows you to tell a story. It allows you to share a complete story with your with the top level management or with other users in your organization. It also allows you to prepare for a meeting or for a presentation like today. I'm going to start a storyboard. So what happens in a storyboard, it's actually, it behaves a bit like a PowerPoint. You have a next button that allows you to go through a set of reports. And I'm going to use this today to actually take you through the story of SQL Corporate. We're going to analyze a company called Comma Communications. You might have heard of it. It's a standard Oracle demo. And what we're going to do is kind of analyze this company on two areas. So we're going to look at their profit and loss and sales performance, and we're going to look at cash flow issues they might have. And while doing this, I'd like to take you actually from the initial report we saw, what we had on paper, to a more advanced way. So I kind of start maybe not with the best practice, but also to show you the steps we could put in between. So this report is actually the one we just had on paper. And it's completely reproducible. So whatever you have in your current reports, if you want to have a lot of columns and a lot of rows, that's possible. However, this has business advantages, the same ones as I just had on my in the PowerPoint. But by putting it in SQL Cockpit, we would actually allow you to already write commentary with this. For example, if you want to write a little story about this report, you can just always do that, and that would relate to your point of view. If you go back to your point of view, what we see here, you could now also select, let's say, a different entity or a different month. So it's already better than having it on paper because you can really play with your point of view and get the right data straight from SQL Cockpit. But it doesn't give a true insight. So that's why I want to take you to the next report. What we see here is actually the same set of data as the previous one, but kind of reduced in size a little bit. So instead of showing all the actual columns and all the budget columns, this report just colors the actual column. So what it does, it shows September, the actual, and it's green because it's doing better than budget. If you'd like to know what budget is, you can hover over it and the numbers would appear. That saves a lot of space. That same space you can use to actually show a more interesting variance chart, showing you what the relative variance kind of is, you know, where you really have a big difference according to your budget in a percentage. And additionally, it allows you, for example, to ask your users to explain why there are specific variances, in this case, over 20% or less than 10% negative. So you can kind of add a threshold to it and say, please explain why total compensation is behind or actually less than budget, which is a good thing because this is a cost account. And this company is behind recruitment plans. So I can just write this little comment as a second commentary option. So besides the fact that we have fully formatted, centrally stored point of view comments, we can also have line comments where you can just explain exactly what's going on this specific line. Another thing you see, we use a lot of colors in SQL Corporate. There's red, there's green, There can be orange in between. You can set these colors according to your standards. So if you like different colors, you can set that. Additionally, you can get actually these valuations straight from your Hyperion system. So total compensation is a cost account. We get that straight from Hyperion, and that actually allows you to color straight away without having to do anything. So it will make this green, although it's actually a negative variance. So to go from this report to probably even a better example, maybe the last thing I'd like to show you is a drill down option. So to reduce a bit the amount of rows, I've added a couple of drills. In this case, like in the previous report, we had all individual products in this report. On this example, that's kind of behind the drill down. So you allow people to view it. They can still print this or export it to Excel with the expanded view, but initially it's closed, which makes this report, for example, much better viewable on an iPad. Everything would fit here nicely on an iPad view. So this report is already a lot better than probably the first one, but it's still not great. It still doesn't show any trends. It's not fully flexible. I see a lot of columns. So let me take you to the next example. And what we see here is again the same data, but structured a little bit different. It requires maybe 1 or 2 clicks more to get the same information, but this is probably much more powerful. What we see here is the same P&L with the same accounts in the previous report, but we left out all the actual different monthly columns. Actually, in order to see all the different individual months, you can now just click, let's say, on gross margin, and then use the trend chart on the right side to understand the difference on gross margin. And if I'd like to really, okay, this looks pretty, you know, it's a chart with 24 periods with a lot of months. So if I just like to understand the last 3 months, I can highlight the chart and zoom into it. So I can kind of really understand what's happening in my current month. Additionally to this, we can actually have a split up over products. So if I want to analyze it a bit further, so instead of having my product detail as a drill down, I can see it on every individual account that allows product split up. And in case you would be an HFM user, we would get these custom dimension relations straight from HFM, so this will be automatically applied. And you could then open up your products by just hitting the plus, and you would then completely analyze your product structure. Let's say I would move to another account, taxes. Taxes obviously does not have a product split up, so you do not see it. This is the concept we call guided analysis. If one of your key executives uses this report, he cannot navigate to an intersection that would not make sense. So you can only give him a path that is meaningful. So I think the nice thing of this visualization is you can see a trend. You can really understand what individual things are performing better or worse than budget, how much they're performing better or worse than budget. But this kind of view is still not kind of giving you immediately the indication of what's going wrong. So that's why I want to take you to the next example. Let me just move 2 steps further. This is what we call a waterfall. And in a waterfall, you can visualize directly. In this case, we're looking at products. We are looking at a product waterfall. There's a budget and there's an actual. And actually, they don't differ very much. So if you would see this as an aggregated total, you would think, okay, there's hardly no variance on between actual and budget. But if you look at the individual products, especially the Windows phones, in the case of this company, have done quite worse than their budget. So it becomes visual straight away, and you can act immediately on it. So I think this is an example of a view that is very, very meaningful. Another example of having straight analysis on those items in the data that kind of really make the difference is what we call an outlier analysis. And here we're actually making a combination of this company's individual products their individual markets and their individual sales entities. Every dimension contains over 100 members, so the potential size of this list would have been like thousands and thousands of records. But by running a smart query that only gets the top 25 best performing products, you could immediately have insight, okay, what product in what market by what sales entity has the biggest growth over 6 months. And this is a kind of an example that gets you straight to the point where you can really understand, yeah, how your business is going. As I said before, I'd like to take you through a story of both, let's say, profit and loss sales analysis and a cash flow analysis. For this specific company, cash is really important. They sell any kind of electro devices, and they, of course, they first buy them in order to sell them. So stuff like their days sales outstanding, their days payable outstanding, the days inventory outstanding, and the cash conversion cycle is really important to manage their business. This is really where they, they can perform well or not perform well. So for cash flow, we could use a similar statement as we saw before in the profit and loss. This is just showing your cash flow statement, which I think is a great view if you just want to know the details and want to analyze it. I could do the same things by saying, okay, net income, or other lines like I could analyze the individual lines like I was able in the other report, and even drill by individual business line. However, this report will not tell me immediately where I have an issue. If I'm the CFO of this company, I wouldn't see directly where I'm making cash and where I'm losing cash. So for that specific example, I'd like to take you to the next report. And it's just one out of the many examples or best practices that come with SQL Cockpit. You can create as much as reports as you like with different kind of visualizations. We support many charts, but this is just a kind of an out-of-the-box example you can also use. And I love this example because it actually shows all my trading entities in this case, and it shows their days payable outstanding and their days sales outstanding. And the size of the entity, you see China is rather big, that's the size in working capital. So that kind of says something about the impact. So normally I would care about the outliers because everything that's in the center has more or less kind of similar payment behavior. But if I would like to understand this better, I can always zoom into the specific area and kind of really understand how these different entities relate to each other. In this case, I see that both Spain and Italy have a relatively high days sales outstanding. And it's something we've seen over the years when we go into many different companies that have a global spread. We see in general that the Southern European countries have a slight mañana payment behavior. They're less on their payment terms. They're less focused, and this is something we see a lot. We've been in meetings where we did a proof of concept presentation to the CFO, and the CFO said, "Hey, can I give someone a call after seeing this report?" Like it became so visual directly to understand, okay, where am I losing cash in my company? And I think it's just a very nice best practice example. So the last report on working capital, which is also a cash flow related topic, it's another, let's say, best practice chart you can use. And the nice thing about this chart is that the working capital is displayed as a line, so you can kind of see how your working capital evolves over time. But then it's a stacked bar chart behind it that has negative and positive elements. Many of the charts that are in SQL Cockpit are based on input from directly from our customer CFOs. They say, well, we like to see it in this way. And this is also kind of the added value of SQL Cockpit, that it comes with this out-of-the-box best practices you can use in your organization. So I've showed you now a story about profit and loss and cash flow. And actually, I'd like to do one other thing, and that's talking about sales analysis. So this company, as I showed you before, and I'm going to stop my storyboard. I showed you this profit and loss report before. And the point is, and this is what we see more and more at all of our customers, that the standard consolidation system is not containing all the necessary detail to run the reports. It's one of the arguments we already had. We don't have all the right detail to run a good executive dashboard. Actually, in this example, I'm missing any kind of discount information. There are no sales returns, and there's some other sales details I completely miss. Besides that, if I click on the product detail, I see a very high-level detailed view of the product. It just says Android phones, not what Android phones or what Apple phones or whatever. It's very high level. So we have a specific feature. It's called our data warehouse adapter that allows customers to load additional data, or we can connect to any other kind of cube that might be around or that can be still built in your organization that contains additional data. And what we're doing here is a sales details report, and it's based on a cube we loaded ourselves with a web-based Excel grid, which is part of C3 Cockpit. But we could easily connect to any of your existing data marts or OLAP cubes that might be in your organization. What we see here in the sales detail report, it's much more detailed, because if I'm on units at the moment. If I would see the products now, you already see more product categories, but if I open it up, here is where I really have all the details about sales. I have more than just the units. I have the individual sales. The units are unchanged scale. The sales are in thousands. It's an average units price that can be calculated out of that. There are discounts. So I have on all these products, I have the discounts. I have an average discount. There are returns in the system, so how many units got returned. Then we know also kind of the return ratio and how much money this company lost on return. So this is a very valuable source, resulting in a net sales that you see here. Well, the ideal thing would be to combine this source into the profit and loss statement we saw before. So let's go to another profit and loss example we have. And this is where we integrated the two sources or the two systems into one dashboard or in one report. And the nice thing is that the end user does not know necessarily where the data comes. That's completely transparent. So the end user sees gross sales coming from the EPM system in this case, so with a limited product split up. Then the next line, discounts, is coming from a sales transactional system, so there's a high level of detail. So you can directly take benefit of analyzing this. Additionally, we have a net sales, which in case of this EPM system was equal to the gross sales. That's obviously an error. They forgot to load the discounts in this specific example. They forgot to load the discounts in their consolidation system. So the report automatically calculates a little error line, which can be seen as a reconciliation check. I'm trying to combine two concepts here in one report that in real life you might want to split up, do the reconciliation in a separate report and the enrichment in another report. But it's just to show you how we could integrate multiple systems within one report and kind of enrich your reports with other data, or kind of reconcile the data sources, or both at the same time. The way how we combine data can be done in many different ways. We can kind of do it like here, that you do it on the rows, but you can also imagine there could be 9 months of actual data and then 3 months of forecast coming from a different system. So if you don't have it in the same system, we could easily combine it within one report. So any kind of combination is possible. So this is basically what I wanted to demo with you today. I will go back to my PowerPoint now. So I think there is still some time for questions. So I'd love to know if there are any questions coming from you.
Thank you, Wouter, and thanks everyone for attending. We will now address questions from the question box as we receive them. And while I wait for your questions, I just want to share that our next webinar will be implementing a cloud strategy with our CEO, Alex Ladd, on Friday, November 13th. Also, Alex and COO Seth Landau will also be presenting during the virtual Hyperion Connection Point conference, November 17th through the 19th. If you're interested in these and other events, please email me at marketing@mindstreamanalytics.com or just check out our event calendar on the website. First question, does this have row-level security?
Okay, that's a good question. This depends a little bit on from what source we would query. So for Essbase, yes, we could really take over the filters you have in Essbase and kind of filter out the report based on so your individual rows. For other sources, what you like in terms of our security, we can set reports. So besides your point of view, which we can completely secure, we can also we have a security model around reports. So you can give a certain report to a specific user and not to another user, allowing you to kind of make sure that every user has the right rows where he kind of has access to. I hope that answers the question.
How much time does it take to fully implement your solution?
Okay, thanks for that question. SQL Cockpit can be implemented in a basic setup rather quick. So a standard approach would be to do a small pilot, what we call a proof of concept. And if we're talking about something we saw today in the demo, so probably around 20-30 reports, we could do that in 3 days. And that includes kind of studying your current setup, connecting to your EPM system, installing SQL Cockpit on one of your servers or in the hosting environment, and kind of have a first setup which is kind of ready to evaluate and take your further decision on. A full implementation, and this depends a little bit on how far you want to go. We typically go in for about next 10 days where we do full training of your team, really build out the pilot and kind of really help you with the rollout. Then most of our customers kind of continue them themselves because it has a relatively low learning curve. It's built for finance people, so you don't need to have a whole IT practice to actually make this work. And yeah, that is one scenario. Another scenario is where we kind of help you with the process further. So we kind of deliver more services in terms of report building and further rollout, and especially this would be something we would definitely do together with our partner Mindtree.
Can you export to a SharePoint site, and can you restrict updating to maintain a static report?
So any of our reports can be completely exported to any kind of static static medium. Like we can export to PowerPoint, we can export to PDF, we can export to Excel. So any report you see in SQL Cockpit can be in a nicely way like exported, so it becomes a nice report you can reuse on let's say SharePoint or any other kind of portal you might have. We can also integrate with SharePoint, but then it will be live and not static.
What type of resources are needed during implementation and then also managing the solution afterward?
So normally, like the typical implementation case of SQL Cockpit is that we work together with the finance team and then typically the people that currently maintain the Hyperion environment, and we would train them. With SQL Cockpit, everything can be clicked together relatively easy. And there's one additional thing we typically train our end user with, and that's to get a little bit used to the MDX language, which could enrich your reporting. So you could relatively easy build more advanced calculations with MDX. And that might be a bit more technical, but actually most of our finance users can completely handle that, and it's extremely powerful to get exactly what you need. Are there any other questions, Susie?
I don't see any more questions. I hope we've been able to answer all of your questions. I think the only one I thought maybe you could elaborate on is the second part of the last two questions ago. Can you restrict updating to maintain a static report? What are the security protocols for restrictions in CXO?
So CXO Cockpit has a couple of security models. We support full Essbase integration security, so meaning that all your filters are kind of used by Essbase, and people would enter not with a CXO Cockpit password, but with their Essbase password, so that will be completely integrated. We also have standard Active Directory integration. Means that someone enters with his Windows user ID and password, and we would check whether he has been authorized inside the Active Directory. And additionally, we have what we call a proprietary security, and that's specifically designed for organizations that do not have everyone in the Active Directory, that are globally spread and have a very hybrid IT setup. And there you can just give your users a user ID and a password yourself, and you can set passwords to expire, including certain password requirements. So you can say you need to have a strong password, for example. So those are the different options on security. Everything besides the Essbase security, then the security is completely managed inside CXO Cockpit. So you would set all your filters inside CXO Cockpit. Only for the Essbase security, we will take that over from Essbase. The big reason behind this is that most of, let's say, our consolidation system users of CXO Cockpit would not necessarily be a user inside the consolidation system. So let's take HFM, for example. When CXO Cockpit is rolled out, you typically connect a different user base than the people that input data. It's managers, people that do not need access to HFM. So that's the reason why we have a security model inside CXO Cockpit to completely secure your reports exactly the way you want.
Well, thank you so much, Wouter, for joining us and for doing this presentation with us. If you, audience, have more questions that you might think of at a later time, please feel free to reach out to us. You can reach me at marketing@mindstreamanalytics.com. It looks like we don't have any other questions. Wouter, do you have any other closing remarks?
No, I'd like to thank everyone, and I'm happy to follow up any other questions.
Great. Thanks, everyone. We will be sending an email with a link to the video, as well as an opportunity to retrieve the slides from today. And then a week from now, they will also be posted on our webinar channel on YouTube. Thank you again for attending. If you have any questions or problems in the next week, or if you don't receive these emails, you can reach me at marketing@mindstreamanalytics.com. I'm Susie. Thank you all for attending. We hope to see you again soon.